What's up, Grove? How you guys doing? Yeah. That's in LA, that's how we say good morning, is just what's up. So if I say anything that you're like, what does he mean? Just be like, oh, he's from LA. But yeah, as Paul said, my name is Joe Smith, and I am not in the Witness Protection Program. I am not the founder of the Mormon religion. It's just my parents were like, yeah, we're just gonna go with Joe Smith. We're just gonna do that. And actually, my parents are here. They live in Tucson. They're right here. Can you say what's up to Rocky and Sonia? Wave. Amazing. So yeah, so they drove over from Tucson. That's where I grew up. You know, which if you guys, if anyone from Phoenix is like, Tucson. Nobody cares about Tucson, right? You know, I feel like the way Phoenix people feel about Tucson is the same like Americans feel about Canada. You know, you're like, yeah, that's neat. They're there. You know, but I grew up in Tucson, but I've been in LA for the last 8 years, been a part of a church in LA called Mosaic. And our pastor, Erwin, just wanted to send his greetings. He is a huge fan of what you guys are doing here. We are so inspired by how God is using you to do such amazing things. We totally believe that we are at this crux in history where the church is going to be known as the epicenter of creativity. It's going to be known as a place that is most filled with compassion and beauty. And we just love what you guys are doing here in Chandler and around the world. And so we're so honored to be here and just to journey through life with you. So on behalf of Mosaic, thank you guys so much for having us. You are like, I know you're not supposed to have favorites. You guys are a favorite. But don't tell anybody I said that. So Palmer asked me to just come and continue this conversation you guys are having about life is beautiful. I love that series. I love that title. And so what I wanted to actually was just think through my brain of like, what are different ways that you find beauty, different experiences, life where beauty just shows itself. And I just wanted to continue the conversation for Easter, because I don't know about you, but Easter's like my favorite weekend of the year. And it was amazing and beautiful. I'm just like, I don't want Easter to end. So let's just like keep going. So I want to pick up where the Easter story left off, because I'm the biggest fan of Easter. So we're going to go to John chapter 21. So if you have a copy of the scriptures, you can go ahead and open that up, John 21, and say what when you got it. Told you, I'm from LA, just filter it, don't worry. And if you don't have it, don't worry, it'll be on the screens up here as well, but let's read together. Starting in verse 1. It says, afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. It happened this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. Okay, let's just stop for a moment. I don't know about you, but whenever I read passages, I love these moments where I'm like, I wonder what was happening. Like, I know they wrote about this, but there's like the undertones of something else is going on. So when you read this, I feel like it's so interesting where John's like setting the stage. He's like, hey, Jesus showed up again, and here's what was going down. I was there, and Simon Peter was there, and Nathanael was there. He's like listing all and then there's 2 other disciples were there. When I read that, I'm like, whoa, hold on, bro. You can't like skip over that. Like, who are the other 2 disciples? If I was the other 2 disciples, I'd be so mad. Later on, when people are like reading this, they're telling like, what do you mean he didn't name us? Like, he said the 2 other? Like, you know how John is. Like, he got mad because I didn't share the bread with him, you know, and when Jesus said, pass the bread and drink the juice, so now he's not going to put me in there. That'd be like, you know, you ever like on Facebook, Instagram, make some noise if that's you. Yeah. That'd be like if you're at like this amazing event and somebody like tags 2 people and then not you. Like, whoa, but what do I got to do to be a part of that? I was right there with you, man. So it has nothing to do with my talk. I just thought it was interesting. So apparently 2 other guys were there that we don't know. And then verse 3, it says, I'm going out to fish, Simon Peter told them. And they said, we'll go with you. So they went out, got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. Oh, hold on. I fast forwarded. Sorry. Today is my wife Rebecca's birthday. She's not here, so you can clap, but she's not going to hear it. But still, she was going to come with me and bring our child with us, but she couldn't make it. We have some things that came up last time. So I miss her a ton. So actually, I have some photos that I'd love for you guys to meet. My wife, Rebecca, she's amazing, and our 4-month-old little man, Isaiah. I'm so thankful that he looks like his mom. She is so beautiful. And so today's her birthday. And so if you guys could help me, because I'm just losing at husband right now by being here. Can you guys just say happy birthday to Rebecca on my behalf? I'm gonna just do a video all around and then we'll get that. You guys cool with that? Amazing. Sorry, I know it's a little detour, but hey, I'm a husband before I'm a speaker. Okay, here we go. Say happy birthday on Rebecca. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday! And a cheer. Yes. Yes, thank you. Now I don't have to sleep on the couch tonight. I appreciate that. So I feel this interesting moment where Jesus comes and the disciples have gone out fishing after he had already appeared to them twice before after he had risen from the dead. And he's in this place and he shows up on the shore and it says that they did not recognize that it was him. When I read that, I find that so interesting. Like, what do you mean they didn't recognize him? He just showed up twice before. They spent 3 years with him. Like, they're supposed to be like friends. Like, this is their posse. And they don't recognize that it's him. And it got me thinking about, okay, what is it that was happening? Why wouldn't they recognize him? Because I think what was going on is that it's really difficult to recognize God when you're in places that you're not supposed to be. When you find yourself in like seasons and situations where God's like, what are you doing here? Why are you in this place? What are you doing? Why are you here? And we wonder, like, where is God? And God's like, what are you doing here? You were never supposed to be here. So for the disciples and for Peter, they're in the boat fishing. And you go, why in the world are they fishing? Why are they back out on sea when it's a contrast for the moment that Jesus actually called them? And Peter was with his brother and they were fishing and they see him walk by and Jesus says, hey, follow me. And I'll make you fishers of men and of women, of people. And it says they dropped their nets at once and they followed him. And yet now here in this moment, they're back in the water where Jesus had said, hey, I want to make you fishers of men and women, fishers of people. But what they did is they jumped back because they went to what they knew. They went to what was comfortable. They got back in the boat when God was trying to get them to fish in the world. And I don't know about you, but there's moments in my life when I just miss it. When I feel like God is trying to press me forward in the midst of uncertainty and challenge, and rather than press into it, I shrink back because I let my fear overwhelm me. I let uncertainty cripple me. Because what uncertainty will do to you and me, it will do one of two things. Uncertainty will either fuel our fear or it will ignite our faith. It's a response that's required of us. When we don't know what to do, when we don't know where to go, we don't know what's next, uncertainty forces this line in the sand where God's like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna push forward or are you gonna shrink back? Are you gonna go back to what you knew and be a fisherman? Or are you gonna move forward and be like, no, you're supposed to be fishers of men and women. That's what you were created for. It's the mission that I have for you. And so often we let fear just cripple us and we get scared. But I still wonder, like, how did they not recognize that it was Jesus, though? How did they not recognize his voice when he called to them? How did they not sense that he was near? But then I go, like, I can resonate with that a little bit. You know, my wife is a twin, so she has an identical twin sister. And there's moments where they talk and they're in the same room. I have no clue which is which. So I don't touch any of them because I don't want to be that guy. I'm just like, hey, you know. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes I have, some bad moments. So one time we had a camping trip where we took a bunch of youth on this trip. And it was, I wear contacts, which is like code for I'm blind without them. And so like that morning I woke up and I didn't quite put my contacts in and it was breakfast time. So I go and I'm getting breakfast and I look and I just see like my wife's hair. And I had this moment, like, oh, I want to like connect with my wife right now, So I take my hand, I just rub her back in the middle of the back, physical touch, like hey, you have different things you say. So this one is like, love you, girl, The shoulder rub is like, hey, me and you, we got this. Like the tap is like, hey, we're married, we can do that, And so I'm just like stroking the middle of her back, and all of a sudden I start to feel her just like pull away a little bit. I'm like, why is she pulling away? Like, that's so weird. And so she pulls away, so I'm like going with her, And then I'm stroking it again, and she's pulling away more. I'm like, okay, are we gonna dance? All right, let's dance then, And just slowly but surely, she's like ducking now. I'm like, what in the world is happening? And I lean forward, and right at that moment, I realized that it is not my wife's back that I'm stroking, but it's actually Herman's daughter, Mariah. who was a leader on the trip with us. And I was so mortified. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. And I look across and my wife just has that look, like, what are you doing? Which I love that about Mariah, and she just felt so bad for me. She didn't want to embarrass me, and she just kept getting away. And I'm like, so I totally resonate with sometimes you actually can't recognize the people that you're closest to, that you forget what they sound like and what they smell like and what they're the experiences when they come into the room, you know that they're there. And for the disciples, they were in this place where I think they had forgotten what Jesus sounded like. Have you ever been there in your life where God spoke and it was so loud, it was so vivid, you knew that it was him? Yet in the same breath, in the same moment, he would speak in other arenas of your life and you wondered if he ever even spoke anymore. You wonder if he still moved in history like that. And we live in this world where sometimes we can recognize God so profoundly and so powerfully, and other times where we wonder if he even still speaks. I think this is where the disciples were, as they were just confused. They didn't know what was about to happen. They didn't know what was going on. And they went back to fish, and they didn't even realize that even when Jesus was near them and walking among them and speaking to them, that it was as if he was distant. And what he was trying to do is to just bring them back to him, to say, hey, I need you to remember what my voice sounds like. I need you to remember what it feels like to be connected with me. And don't let uncertainty and doubt push you away from me, but actually let it draw you closer in. Let it pull you back to my heart. And he was just trying to reel them in as if they were fisher, like he was the fisherman trying to bring them back to himself. And then the story continues. After they don't recognize him. And then verse 5, it says this. He said, he called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered, which is so condescending, right? Standing on the shore, knowing that they've been fishing all night and they haven't caught anything, and Jesus stands there, hey, do you have anything? As if, hey, what's going on? What are you doing? Why are you still fishing in the wrong place? He says, no, they answered. So then he says, throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it is the Lord. As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, it is the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off and jumped into the water. I am so thankful he did that, so I don't have to have that imagery in my head. And then verse 8, the other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. So you have them on the boat, and they've been fishing all night. They've been trying everything. They've cast the net to the right, to the left, to the front, to the back, and they caught nothing. Can you imagine how frustrating that would be to feel like this is your craft, this is what you are good at, this is what you were created for? They were fishermen, and yet they were having no success. Everything they tried, they were coming up to obstacle after obstacle, and it was a failure. Have you ever been there in your life where you gave everything that you had, you tried everything you knew to try, and nothing was working? Nothing was connecting, that you just felt so alone and isolated. I feel like that's where they found themselves in this moment. Jesus was still alive, but they didn't know what the future had, so they went back to what they knew, and that was to fish. But then the thing that they knew to do wasn't working, and so they were confused. What in the world are we supposed to do now? And then Jesus is there, and he says, just cast your net on the right side of the boat. Trust me. Even though they didn't recognize his voice, I feel like they could recognize his essence. When he said, throw it, they said, it was like a whisper of Jesus saying, trust me, I'm coming for you. Trust me, I'm wooing you back to me. And they throw it on the right side and they pull it up, and it's this net that is full of fish. And then it's like the aha moment where they go, oh, I recognize what that looks like. I know what that is. I know what that means. That's Jesus. And John says, it is the Lord. And Peter gets so excited because he realizes that Jesus is calling him back to where he's supposed to be. And this is what Jesus will do with you and with me, with all through humanity, that even when we don't realize that he's moving, even when we don't recognize his voice, even when we don't recognize his presence, it does not stop him from trying to reveal himself to us. It does not keep him from doing whatever it takes for the aha moment to happen, the light bulb to go off, where we go, I know what that looks like. I know who that is. That's Jesus. Because all that Jesus does through human history, all that he has done is he's trying to reveal himself to humanity. He's trying to bring humanity back to himself. And through our failures and through our success, through the good times, through the bad, through it all, it's Jesus trying to reveal his love and trying to reveal himself to us. That's why he stepped into human history. That's why the God of the universe paused his deity and being only God and said, I'm now going to be human. I'm going to put flesh and blood because I want you to know that I want to reveal myself to you. I want you to know that I came for you and that I'm for you. And then I want you to know what my voice sounds like. I want you to know that I'm moving. Because God is always trying to reveal himself to us. He's always trying to get us to hear his voice and to even know when he's walking in the cool of the night. Any baseball fans out there? Couple? Yeah, make some noise. Baseball fan, yeah. So I'm like a huge sports fan. Just grew up, had my dad to thank for that, was watching golf when I was 2 years old. Just like grew up with sports. And also, I am a huge movie fan. So the perfect fusion for me is like sports movies. That is just like my love language. And I grew up in the 90s. So give me some shout outs of like, what are some of your favorite sports movies? Just scream them out. So what was that again? When the game stands still, yeah? Bull Durham, yes. Field of Dreams. What else? Sandlot, come on now. You're taking me back. Sandlot, yes. What was that? Brian's Song. Yeah, that's an amazing movie. Yeah. Right? There's so many, right? So many incredible sports movies. But you know what the like culmination of every sports movie is, right? It's like the halftime speech. It's when the team is just getting killed and the coach or the player has to just stand up and rise up and give the like come to Jesus moment. Where like we were losing, but it's time now, we're gonna win. And the end of the movie, they win, of course, always, because that's how life works. You just always win at the end. And so for me, I was like, man, I love sports movie. I love that like halftime speech. So I was always looking for those moments for me. So I played baseball all through when I was growing up. And in high school, I feel like I finally had like my moment. We had this big game against this team, our rivals called Desert View. And we hated Desert View. Just sounds gross, doesn't it? Desert View. Boo. And they were like our rivals and they hated us, we hated them. Every time I would go up to bat, I would always have my shirt untucked. I just didn't like it tucked in. So they would go, tuck your shirt in, Sloppy Joe. I'm like, I hate you, but that's a good one. That's good. Yeah, well done. And then they were just our biggest rival. I wanted to beat them so bad. So we had this really big game. Like, we got to beat Desert View. So I'm like, this is my moment. I'm getting my team ready. Gave a little pregame speech. Like, hey, let's give everything we got, guys. This is our game. And after the first inning, it was Desert View 7, Palo Verde 0. We were playing baseball. It wasn't football, all right? So that's not good. And the second inning came, and it was like 12-0, Desert View. And the third inning was like 19-0, and it got worse and worse till eventually it was something like 25-2. And I was just like, oh my, this is embarrassing. Oh, this is my moment. But then I was like, wait, no, but this is it. This is like the halftime moment. Your team's down. Look, there's no way we're gonna win the game, but if I can like enlist the best of the best, we can like launch us into the next game. So I got the team together before that. I said, hey, this game is over. I know, it's not a good way to start a speech. This game is over, but this game is gonna matter for the rest of our season. So what I need you to do is I need to go out and I need you to give me everything that you got. And I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, oh man, they're gonna make this movie and Denzel or Will's gonna play me. And they're gonna be like, yeah, it was 25-2, and they lost, but it was inspiring. And I'm just rallying the troops. I'm like, guys, we got this. Let's give everything we have. This is our moment. And we got out of the field. I'm like, okay, now I got to just make a play. I can't just talk about it. I got to like inspire my team. So I was like praying too. I was like, God, have him hit me a ball. I was like, that's how me and God talk. You know, he has balls hit my way, apparently. And I was like, God, have them hit me a ball. I'm just ready. I want to get it. First bat of the inning, throws it in. The guy nails it. And I just start running. I'm like, yes, this is my moment. I'm going to make this incredible catch. Denzel is going to look so good on screen with this. And I know it's weird, Denzel will be like 65, but still, it'll work. And I'm running, and I'm like right there. I'm just full speed, and I got it. And I'm like, yes, this is the play. I'm going to rob this guy. And I'm like right there. And that's the last thing that I remember. See, the thing about baseball, it has this a really annoying thing called a fence. If you hit it over the fence, it's like it's a home run, right? But it's a part of the boundaries of the game. And I kind of forgot that it was there for a moment, and I ran full speed into the fence. Separated my shoulder, and I got knocked out. So I'm lying on the ground when I finally came to, somewhere between 1 and 17 seconds later. I'm lying on the ground, and I'm like, what in the world just happened? I'm like trying to go through, did somebody punch me? Did I trip? Like, what's going on? And I realized I just ran into the fence. And everybody's watching. This is so embarrassing. And then to top it off, I'm laying on the ground, and there's the balls right there in front of me. Like, come on, God. I said to catch it, not taunt me. And I get up, my shoulders, and I have to get up and throw the ball like my 4-month-old son. And I'm just like so embarrassed. I cannot believe I just ran into the fence. Like, that's impossible. Because if you know anything about baseball, there's the fence, but then there's also this thing in front of the fence that's called a warning track. The whole point of the warning track is to warn you, fence, be careful. But what Des of you failed to do is that they didn't really care about that warning track, so they let like weeds grow and it blended in with the outfield grass. So I didn't actually realize that the fence was coming because it felt the same, and I ran straight into the wall. I fell and I crashed. Have you ever just like gone full speed at something in life and feel like you ran into a wall, felt crippled, felt, God, where were you? Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you like let me know what was about to happen? And then God's saying, hey, I put a warning track right there. I've been trying to get your attention for a long time, but you failed to listen. Actually, your job was to pull the weeds of that warning track. Your job is to know my voice so well that when you're headed towards fences, I don't even have to say a word, but you hear me reminding you that I'm close. You hear me saying, be careful, watch out. And we run into fences and walls. We let life hit us, and we think that it's God punishing us when God was like, I've been trying to get your attention for a really long time. I've been trying to remind you that my voice is the most important thing that you could ever have. And when I walk in the cool of the night, when I whisper on the shore, when we're so connected, you'll know that it's me, and you'll never ask, God, where are you? You'll never wonder if Jesus is present because we know his voice so well. And this is where the disciples found themselves. It's as if their world had come crashing down and they didn't know what was next. They didn't know what to do. So because they didn't know what to do, they went to what they knew what to do rather than go to the one that they needed to know. Because Jesus doesn't care about always giving us the details. He doesn't always care about letting us know what's about to happen. All he cares about is, hey, let's go together. I'm doing something so unique and beautiful in your life. Just trust me. Don't worry about the uncertainty. Because uncertainty, rather than cripple us with fear, it can ignite us moving forward to create a future far more beautiful than we ever could have imagined. And it's so interesting in this moment that the disciples forgot who they were. Peter forgot who he was. He went back to being a fisherman when Jesus said, bro, there's a world out there, and I'm going to change your name from Simon to Peter, because I want you to know that you're the rock, and on this rock, I'm going to build a church. I'm going to build a future of humanity, and I want you to be at the epicenter of it. So Peter, you got to trust me. You got to believe that I'm still moving through you and in you, and don't go back. Don't get in that boat. Go forward, get on land, and fish for the things that you're supposed to be fishing for. And then it transitions into my favorite part of this story. Starting in verse 9, it says, when they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus said to them, bring some of the fish you have just caught. So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153, but even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, come and have breakfast. None of the disciples dared ask him, who are you? They knew it was the Lord. That's Jesus' intention with the way he interacts with us, is he wants us to know that he is the Lord. Everything he does is driving to this reality that we have those moments where we don't have to ask, who is it? Who did that? Who was that? We say, I know it's the Lord because I know what he feels like. I know what he sounds like. I know what his whisper is bringing me to. So it says they knew it was the Lord. And then Jesus came, took the bread and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This is now the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. Just like a little side note, I'm so glad that we have progressed as like people in humanity. Fish for breakfast sounds disgusting. Like, really, Jesus? Come and have breakfast and we're gonna have like some cod. I'm gonna have some tilapia. That just sounds terrible. Like, you're Jesus. Couldn't he have just he had bread. Couldn't he made French toast, you know? I know it hadn't been invented yet, but he's Jesus. He could invent whatever he wants. So I'm just so glad that we do not have to deal with that. And they move him to this place. He moves them to this place where he has communion with them, because that's what the breakfast was about. It was about, hey, I need you to know that I'm here, and there's gonna be a moment when I'm not here. That I'm gonna leave this place. My physical presence is gonna be gone, and I'm gonna send a helper, and I need you to remember this moment. And so what he was doing is he was having a meal with them, he was having communion with them, and he was trying to redefine for Peter a memory and a story that had been ingrained in his brain. Because if you know anything about Peter's story, right after Jesus was arrested, he finds himself at this campfire, this bonfire, and there's people that recognize him. They say, aren't you the one that was with Jesus? And he says, no, it wasn't me. Aren't you one of the followers of that guy, Jesus? No, I've never seen him before. Aren't you one of his disciples? No, I don't know him. And then the rooster crows, and he remembers that Jesus had told him he would deny him 3 times. And for this moment, it's as if Jesus has that fire going because he wants Peter to know, I'm redeeming that moment for you. And then when he walks up and he smells that fire, it's gonna trigger, I know what I did. And imagine that walk from the beach to the fire was one of the longest walks in Peter's life because he knew what Jesus was doing. He knew he was reminding him of maybe a moment that he wanted to forget. See, what Jesus will do to you and me is he'll take those moments and those memories that we want to forget and he'll bring them to the surface. He'll say, I know that they've caused you pain and discomfort. I know that you're afraid to bring this to me, and so I'm gonna bring it to the forefront. Because Peter, it's okay. I know you denied me, I know you betrayed me, but when you smell that fire, what I'm doing is I'm redefining this moment. I'm redefining every moment you ever had with fire and smoke, that no longer are you gonna remember that it was the time that you betrayed me, but you're gonna remember it's the time that I reminded you that you were never supposed to be a fisherman. You're always supposed to be a fisher of men and of women. And what he was doing was he was calling Peter to something far greater than he could have ever imagined. And he got there, and this beautiful exchange happens. In verse 15, he says, when they finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said, you know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. The third time he asked him, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. And Jesus said, feed my sheep. There are so many amazing insights in this little piece right here that I'm not gonna get into. But the piece I feel like that is so interesting is you have Jesus redefining this moment for Peter. And he actually goes back and he calls him Simon, son of John. See, what Jesus will do in your life and my life is he will interact with us at the place where we choose to be for him to interact with us at. So here what he's doing is he's saying, all right, Simon, you want to be a fisherman? I know that one thing that Simon is a fisherman. Simon, son of John, goes in a boat and he casts his net and he fishes. So if that's who you want to be, if you want to go back to being a fisherman, if you want to go back to being Simon, then that is how I will relate to you. But it's as if you could feel Peter, something inside of him being like, no, that's not who I want to be. I don't want to be the fisherman. I know what you have called me to. I know the life that you have for me. I want to be a fisher of men and of people. And Jesus was saying, all right, then let's stop being Simon. It's time to be Peter. Stop hindering your future by being in this boat. And remember that you're the one that had actually the courage and the gall to, when I was walking on water, to say, if that's you, Lord, say come and I can come. And I can actually walk on water. Isn't it crazy that the same person who had the faith that he could defy gravity and he could defy science and reality, the same person that had that level of faith to walk on water, and not just walk on water, but to believe that he can actually walk on water, is now the same one who let his fear cripple him of what God was trying to do in his life. And he found himself in this boat and as if he was in prison, going back to his old life. And Jesus said, no, I'm not gonna let you stay there. I'm not gonna let you live there. Peter, I need you to get out of the boat. I need you to step out of the boat. I need you to stop fishing simply for fish, and I need you to realize that there is a world out there that I want you to be a part of catching and bringing home, that there are fish that are waiting to be caught. You know what people that are lost, they're like a fish dangling in a net waiting for somebody to pick it up. They're wondering if there's a God out there that sees them. They're wondering if there's a community, there's a tribe that will bring them home. And what Jesus wants for you and me is he has given us the privilege where we get to go out into the world and cast our net to the right and to the left, to the front and to the back. And when he directs our ways and he lights up our paths, everywhere we send that net, we pull up loads and loads of fish, loads and loads of people that God said, it's time for you to come home. It's time for me to do a new thing in you. It's time for you to remember that even when you want to be a fisherman, I need you to know that I'm calling you to what you were created for. And you were created to be a fisher of men and of women, that you are the future of the world. And this is still true now, 2,000 years later, that Jesus looked all throughout how he would interact with the world. And he said, I want to use the church to bring people home. I want to use the church to redeem memories. I want to use the church to remind people that there's a God who desperately wants to reveal himself. And he said, don't let the uncertainty of how I move scare you. Don't let your fears hinder you. Let it be the context for your faith to fuel your actions. Let this uncertainty move you forward and say, God, where's the net that I need to cast? Where's the boat that I need to step out of? What's the future that you are calling me to? And when we do that together, it'll be amazing how many fish we get to bring up in our nets. Let's pray.